By now, I do evolutionary neuroscience, which is
Mhm.
basically uh, studying the evolution of the brain to understand how and why humans are so, um, specialized cognitively. So right now I have two research programs, and I am understanding different aspects of brain evolution. On one hand, I'm extremely passionate about understanding how the cortex have been evolving in terms of size, but also in terms of the reorganization of the different
Mhm.
cortical areas. And a fascinating, you know, um, feature happens that in so many species, humans included, the cortex, the cortical sheet, starts to fold and bend. So the understanding that we have of our brain is something that is like extremely wrinkly and really folded. And that folding pattern, which is called cortical folding, that is something that has evolved throughout evolutionary time. So we have species that are their brains are really smooth and without any folds, and we have other species that are really highly folded. So that folding pattern is something that has changed throughout evolutionary times, and very important for our research questions. The folding of the brain, it is a proxy of how much computational power the cortex has. And the cortex, by definition, is one of the most important areas for
Right.
animal intelligence. So
Mhm.
having animals that they have cortex that are really thin and not folded, and having other species that their cortex are really thick and more folded, that tells you something about the amount of information that those different cortices can um, work with. And I study the evolution of cortical folding across across all different mammals to
Mhm.
actually understand how the reorganization of the cortex has changed throughout time, giving us really clear indication, a very good proxy of how cortical processing of information has evolved through time. That is a research project that I'm working on for I've been working on for the last few years, and I'm very happy to tell you and tell our audience that I'm wrapping up some analysis. I will be publishing those results very very soon. So I am very happy about those results, and I truly believe that all the data that we have collected and the results that we have are going to be changing some aspects that we have in terms of cortical folding in particular, but also how we understand in general animal intelligence, and specifically the intelligence that is derived from cortical activity. And on the other
Mhm.
hand, the other project that I have is my dissertation project, the project that I aim to finish my doctoral studies with, which is related to a beautiful, very, very important connectivity pattern that exists in the brain that is called the corticostriatal system. So that
Mhm.
neural network is actually connecting the cortex, right? This extremely important part of the brain, which has been uh, suffered a lot of folding throughout evolution. So the cortex is connected also with the striatum, which is a really important component that is deep, inside our brain, which is the main input of what is a system that is called the basal nuclei, also known as basal ganglia. So
Mhm.
that striatum is actually filtering specific types of information of our cortex, right? So we have information that is more related to sensory motor aspects, other information that is more abstract, more related to the actions, and other type of information that is extremely abstract, which is more related to the goals that different animals have in terms of how to reach from one point to the other in terms of behavior. So lo and behold, extremely interesting is that specific nuclei of the striatum are actually filtering specific types of cortical information that is being relayed to those specific nuclei. So what I'm doing is actually measuring the striatum in general, but also the volumes and the connectivity patterns of those specific nuclei of the striatum, uh, and compare them across primates to actually see how different learning mechanisms and different stages of the regulation of behavior and how animals actually construct habits and they build, they make decisions, have evolved throughout, the evolution of primate cognition. So I am also working with, a system that is also involving some subcortical areas. So in that sense, I am, very interested in how the cortex and cortical areas have evolved, but also some other areas that are evolutionarily more conserved, have a deeper evolutionary history, such as the striatum also has evolved in tandem with the cortex. So basically, to study the variation throughout time of parts of the brain that have different evolutionary histories.